You keep ruining your own progress, and you know it. You build momentum. You make plans. You start executing. Things are finally working. And then somehow you sabotage it. You stop showing up. You break the streak. You make decisions that destroy what you built. And the worst part is you watch yourself do it. You see it happening. You know it is self-destructive, but you do it anyway. Again and again and again. This is not random. This is not bad luck. This is a pattern. And patterns have causes. Most people think self-sabotage is weakness, lack of discipline, lack of commitment. But self-sabotage is not weakness. Self-sabotage is protection. Your brain is protecting you from something it categorized as dangerous. And until you understand what it is protecting you from, you will keep repeating the cycle. Keep building progress. Keep destroying it. Keep hating yourself for the pattern you cannot seem to break. Here is what most people miss. Self-sabotage does not feel like sabotage when it is happening. It feels reasonable. It feels like a valid decision. It feels like you're making a smart choice based on current circumstances. But it is not. It is your nervous system executing an automatic protection program that learned a long time ago that success is dangerous. And now, every time you get close to something meaningful, your brain activates the sabotage protocol to keep you safe from the thing it fears. Let me show you how this works. You start something important, a project, a goal, a new habit. First few days or weeks feel amazing. You have momentum. You are executing. You are seeing progress. You start believing this time is different. This time you are actually going to follow through. This time you are going to become the person who finishes what they start. Then something shifts, not externally, internally. You start feeling resistance, not the normal kind of resistance that comes from hard work, a different kind, the kind that makes you want to quit even though things are going well, the kind that makes you second-guess everything, the kind that generates thoughts like, maybe this is not the right time, or maybe I am not ready for this, or maybe I should take a break and restart later. These thoughts feel true. They feel like wisdom. They feel like you're being realistic or practical or self-aware. But they are not. They are sabotage disguised as insight. Your brain is creating reasons to stop because continuing feels threatening, not logically threatening, emotionally threatening. Continuing means you might actually succeed, and success triggers a thing your nervous system learned to avoid. So what is your brain avoiding? It depends on what you learned growing up. Maybe you learned that being successful means people expect more from you, and more expectations feel like pressure, like burden, like loss of control. So your brain learned that staying slightly unsuccessful is safer. It keeps expectations manageable, keeps pressure low, keeps you from being trapped by your own success. Or maybe you learned that standing out is dangerous, that being visible attracts criticism or judgment or attack. So success, which makes you visible, triggers your protection system. Your brain says if you succeed, people will see you, and if people see you, they will hurt you. So we need to stop before we get there. And you sabotage to stay hidden, to stay safe, to avoid the visibility that comes with achievement. Or maybe you learn that you are not the kind of person who deserves good things. That good outcomes belong to other people, not to you. So when you start achieving something, your brain experiences cognitive dissonance. This does not match who I am. This does not fit my identity. Something is wrong. And it corrects the error by sabotaging the success, by bringing you back to the familiar struggle, back to the identity that feels true even though it is painful. Or maybe you learn that achievement is temporary, that every time you get somewhere good, something bad happens and you lose it. So your brain learned to expect loss after gain, to anticipate the fall after the climb. And rather than wait for external circumstances to destroy your progress, your brain does it preemptively. It sabotages before life can. It controls the destruction so it feels less terrifying than random, unpredictable loss. These are not conscious beliefs. You are not walking around thinking I do not deserve success or I'm afraid of visibility. These are subconscious programs running automatically. They were installed years ago through repeated experiences, through messages you received, through patterns you observed, through pain you learned to avoid. And now they run in the background, sabotaging your progress without you realizing what is happening. This is why willpower does not fix self-sabotage, why trying harder does not work, why making more plans and more commitments does not prevent the pattern. Because the sabotage is not happening at the conscious level. It is happening at the nervous system level. Your body is protecting you from emotional threat, and you cannot think your way out of nervous system protection. You have to retrain it. So how do you retrain a nervous system that learns success is dangerous? You start by recognizing sabotage when it is happening. Most people do not see it until after it is done. They look back and think, why did I do that? Why did I stop when things were working? Why did I make that destructive choice? But by then it is too late. The sabotage is complete. The progress is destroyed. The cycle repeats. You need to catch it in the moment, in the exact moment when your brain starts generating reasons to stop, when resistance appears even though things are going well, when you start thinking maybe I should take a break, or maybe this is not the right approach, or maybe I am pushing too hard. These thoughts are flags, signals that sabotage is activating. When you notice these thoughts, pause. Do not act on them immediately. Do not trust them as truth. Just notice them. Then ask yourself this question. What am I afraid will happen if I keep going? Not what logical reason can I give for stopping. What am I afraid of? What does my nervous system think will happen if I succeed at this thing? You might not get a clear answer right away. That is okay. The question itself disrupts the automaticity of the sabotage. It creates a gap between trigger and response. And in that gap, you have choice. You can follow the sabotage pattern like you always have. Or you can choose to keep going even though every part of you wants to stop. Here is what happens when you keep going despite the sabotage urge. Your nervous system sends alarm signals. It says this is dangerous. We need to stop. This does not feel right. You are not safe. These signals feel overwhelming. They feel like truth. They feel like your body is telling you something important. And they are telling you something important, but not what you think. They are telling you that you are approaching the edge of your familiar identity, that you are moving toward a version of yourself that your brain does not recognize as safe. The alarm is not warning you about actual danger. It is warning you about unfamiliarity, about change, about becoming someone new. And your brain interprets unfamiliar as unsafe even when unfamiliar is exactly what you need. So you sit with the discomfort. You acknowledge the alarm without obeying it. You say to your nervous system, I know you are scared. I know this feels dangerous. But we are going to keep going anyway. Not because the fear is invalid, because the fear is outdated. It is protecting me from something that was threatening years ago, but is not threatening now. And then you take the smallest next action. Not a big dramatic move. The tiniest step forward. You do not try to power through the resistance. You do not fight it with willpower. You just demonstrate through action that continuing is safe. You prove to your nervous system that the catastrophe it predicts does not happen, that success does not create the outcome it fears. This is how you retrain the pattern, not by avoiding sabotage, by moving through it consciously, by catching it when it activates, by understanding what it is protecting you from, by choosing to act anyway, and by collecting evidence through repeated action that the thing your brain fears is not actually dangerous. Now, let me tell you what makes this difficult. The sabotage pattern is clever. It does not just show up as obvious self-destruction. It disguises itself. It hides behind legitimate concerns, behind reasonable excuses, behind what looks like good decision-making. And this makes it almost impossible to recognize unless you know what to look for. For example, you might sabotage by suddenly deciding you need to change your entire approach. You are making progress with your current plan, but your brain convinces you there is a better way, a more efficient method, a smarter strategy. So you abandon what is working to chase the new shiny thing. And by the time you realize the new thing is not better, you have lost all your momentum. The sabotage worked, but it felt like optimization, like improvement, like smart strategic thinking. Or you sabotage by getting injured or sick right when things are going well. Your body creates a legitimate obstacle that forces you to stop. And because it is legitimate, you do not question it. You do not see it as sabotage. You see it as bad luck, as your body breaking down, as random circumstance. But your nervous system is not random. It can create physical symptoms to prevent you from doing things it categorized as threatening. The injury is real. The sabotage is also real. Or you sabotage by creating conflict with people supporting you. You pick a fight. You push them away. You create distance right when you need support most. And you tell yourself it is their fault. They did something wrong. They do not understand you. But what is really happening is your brain is isolating you because connection feels vulnerable, because being supported means being seen, and being seen triggers the protection mechanism. So you sabotage the relationships to stay hidden, to stay safe, to avoid the visibility that comes with having people care about your progress. Or you sabotage through perfectionism. You decide your work is not good enough. Your progress is not real progress because it is not perfect progress. You start over. You refine endlessly. You never finish because finishing means a thing becomes real, and real means it can be judged, and judgment feels dangerous. So you stay in perpetual preparation, perpetual improvement, perpetual almost ready. And you tell yourself you have high standards, that you refuse to put out mediocre work. But what you really have is fear disguised as excellence. The sabotage is sophisticated. It adapts to your awareness. If you start recognizing one form, it will shift to another. It will find new ways to stop you that you have not learned to identify yet. This is why breaking the pattern requires constant vigilance, constant self-honesty, constant willingness to question your own reasoning and ask, is this legitimate or is this sabotage? And here is the hardest truth. Sometimes you will not be able to tell the difference. Sometimes the sabotage will be so well disguised that you will genuinely believe you are making a good decision. And you will sabotage anyway. You will destroy your progress. You will restart the cycle. And you will only realize what happened after the fact, when you're looking back, wondering why you did it again. This is part of the process. You do not break a decades-old pattern in one attempt. You break it through repeated iterations, through catching it more times than you miss it, through choosing differently more often than you choose the same, through building new evidence gradually that success is safe, that visibility is survivable, that expectations are manageable, that you deserve good outcomes. That achievement does not guarantee loss. Every time you catch the sabotage and choose to continue, anyway you weaken the pattern. Every time you sit with the discomfort of success without destroying it, you retrain your nervous system. Every time you prove through action that the feared outcome does not happen, you update the old program. Slowly, the sabotage loses power. Slowly, your brain starts to trust that progress is not dangerous. Slowly, you become someone who can build without destroying. But you have to be patient with yourself. You have to understand that this pattern has been protecting you for years. It will not disappear because you understand it intellectually. It will disappear because you replace it experientially, through action, through evidence, through repeatedly choosing the new behavior until it becomes more familiar than the old one. And you have to accept that some part of you will always want to sabotage, will always feel uncomfortable with success, will always prefer the familiar struggle over the uncertain achievement. This part does not go away. It just stops being in charge. It becomes a voice you hear, but do not obey, a feeling you notice, but do not act on, a pattern you recognize, but do not follow. The goal is not to never feel the urge to sabotage. The goal is to feel it and choose differently, to recognize it and keep going, to understand what it is protecting you from and prove through action that protection is no longer necessary. So stop calling this weakness. Stop calling this lack of discipline or commitment. This is not a character flaw. This is a protection mechanism that outlived its usefulness. Your brain learned to sabotage progress because at some point in your life, progress was dangerous. That was true then. It is not true now. Your nervous system does not know that yet. You have to show it through action, through evidence, through choosing to build instead of destroy, even when destroying feels safer. You keep ruining your own progress because your brain thinks it is keeping you safe. Not consciously, automatically, through patterns learned long ago, through associations formed in circumstances that no longer exist, through protection programs running on outdated information. But now you see it. Now you understand what is happening. Now you can start interrupting the pattern, not by fighting it, by recognizing it, by questioning it, by acting despite it, by proving through repeated experience that the thing your brain fears is not actually dangerous. This will be uncomfortable. Change always is. But discomfort is not danger. Unfamiliar is not unsafe. And the version of you that can sustain progress exists. You just have to prove to your nervous system that becoming that version is survivable. So the next time you feel the urge to sabotage, pause. Notice what is happening. Ask what you are afraid of. Then take the smallest action forward anyway. Not because you feel ready. Because you understand the resistance is protection, not truth. And you no longer need protection from your own success. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are running an old program designed to keep you safe from things that are no longer threatening. And now you can start changing it. One conscious choice at a time. One moment of continuing despite resistance at a time. One piece of evidence at a time that progress is safe and you are capable of sustaining it.